what you start. Finish what you start. Every endeavor, every undertaking that we or any person takes involves a start and a finish. Finish what you start.
Welcome back to the neighborhood family. I am your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray, and I want to thank you for joining me for another edition of Happy Hood, the podcast. This is where we connect, cultivate, and build a meaningful community that is centered around health, agape, power, and institute. Happy Hood. It is a purpose-driven lifestyle. What's going on, family? What's going on, neighbors? I'm so excited that you decide to join us again here in the neighborhood for another edition of Happy Hood, the podcast. Finish what you start. This is where we talk to amazing individuals about their how to's and learn about their experiences that has helped them to live a purpose lifestyle. And this individual today is truly doing that. Is truly doing that. She is a board certified health and wellness coach, a mindset strategist, a nutritional lifestyle coach, and the author of Release My Trauma, The Root of Self-Sabotage. She's a podcaster, cycling instructor, personal trainer with over 10 years of experiences working with busy career and retired women in the areas of obesity, fitness, chronic illness, mindset, nutritionist, wellness, mental fitness, health, and injury recovery. The great worker herself. Welcome to the neighborhood, Miss LaJune Singleton. How you doing?
I am good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being on. And again, as we was kind of joking, as before we was getting started, fam, I was like, when do you have time to sleep? Because this is, I mean, I guess, well, we'll save that. We'll say that for it. But yeah, this is amazing. It's amazing. It's truly as I read this, I'm reading an individual that have really discovered your passion. You know, because I think throughout all these things that you're doing, they definitely interconnect with each other.
Oh yeah.
You know, they definitely interconnect with each other. So I think the underlying part of it is that you truly are really a agent for change, and just a truly an individual that's loved to motivate and inspire people. In which I definitely hold that same trait. So again, thank you for coming on to the neighborhood. Thanks for being with us, Lejeune. And how you doing today?
I am good. Of course it's cloudy here in Maryland, but the clouds don't stop anything. Life must go
Yeah,
on.
they keep going, they keep going, they
Yes,
keep
yes,
going.
yes.
Happy family, this is going to be a wonderful conversation. I truly is going to be a conversation around I guess if I had to say, the power of healing, the power of forgiveness, and this I would say the power of self-discovery, again, LaJune Singleton, she is the author of Releasing My Trauma, The Root of Self-Sabotage, in which we're going to be talking about that, along with some other things that she is doing, as you can see. So LaJune, I guess let's start with the book itself. What was the reason for writing it?
The reason for writing a book was to truly forgive and let go. What prompted that was 2019. I went to a healing retreat, Living Limitless with Shanoa Maxwell. And basically, it was a healing process of, finding out things about myself I was unaware of, such as abandonment issues, because we don't look at grief as abandonment. We look at grief as someone died, not that they abandoned you. Just learning to forgive myself, because you never really think that you're holding grudges against yourself, because you're holding grudges against other people. So I learned to forgive myself in order to be able to forgive others. So that was just basically sealing, letting go of all the things that was causing me trauma and causing sabotaging behaviors in my life, of losing my dad, of being molested, of telling my mom I was, being molested and not being heard. Just saying, okay, this has happened. And I realized how this was pouring over in relationships and employment and how I was treating myself and my finances. All this stuff was coming up for me. And it was just like, okay, you were straight sabotaging. So let me put an end to this. Let me, because a lot of people ask me, okay, well, what's your relationship with your mom? I love my mom. I forgave my mom. I don't know what my mom's upbringing was, what she experienced in her life. She did the best with what she had. And I just was like, I just want to just release. And that's why I came up with releasing my trauma, because I wanted to release it and let it go and put it behind me and move forward and be that voice for other people who are struggling with sabotaging and holding on to traumas. Can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I was just talking. You know how you be at work and everything. You're on mute.
Yes. You're on mute. Yeah.
I was on mute, family. But I was saying that I applaud you for having the courage and really just having the power of vulnerability to share the story. As I look at the the cover, in which I think is so powerful, and family, I hope you can see this. But there's a reflection in the water of a little girl holding a balloon, you know. And I know in the book, and I read a couple of areas of the book. And again, family, go get the book, go get the book, go get the book. Um, and you talk about that little girl and how she felt at those times of when those when she was faced or experiencing some of those challenging times. Like, what was your thought process with the cover of the book? Like, what did you want to kind of illustrate with this?
So the cover is basically saying, we all, when our traumas start, that age is still with us. So that is a
Mm,
6.5-year-old, 7-year-old little girl who I've been trying to operate for years as that 6.5, 7-year-old girl,
yeah,
in adult life.
yeah,
So
yeah,
basically it's saying I'm walking away from that little girl. I'm walking into my purpose, my adulthood, who I'm
yeah,
meant to be.
yeah, yeah. It's wow, wow, wow. That's I told you, family, we're gonna have a good conversation. Because I mean, I'm just thinking about it in so many different ways. Um, because I how can I put this? Number one is the moment of releasing, as I feel as you doing for that. But I think at times we all may have experienced, and it may not be at the same incidents of everyone's story, or what I have experienced, if I experienced similar to what you have done. But we all experience these things that may have been traumatizing to us at a young age, but we don't realize it until we get much older, you know. And it's to your point of being that little girl or that little boy, trying to process these emotions at a young age, and then carrying that type of practice on into adulthood. Is that where the self-sabotaging comes when we're
Yeah, yes. Because just think about in most black and brown communities, not saying all black homes, because I only can speak on my own
yeah,
home. Um I'm from the South. I'm originally from Louisiana. That's
Mhm.
not something that's talked about. It's swept under the rug. When my
Yeah.
dad died, it wasn't ever a question of how are you doing? How are you feeling? Just that
Yeah.
whole talk of, you know, you were a daddy's girl. He's not here anymore. How are you responding to that?
Yeah.
We're not getting grief counseling or church counseling or anything. It
Uh,
was you figure it out. You
mm,
learn to adapt and move forward. So you're trying to navigate through life of losing a loved one. You're trying to navigate through life of how to have relationships, but how can you have relationships when you've been violated
yeah.
sexually?
Yeah.
What does that look like in a relationship?
Mhm.
Just how do you have a voice
Yeah.
when the person that's supposed to protect you, you go and you talk to and say, hey, this person is bothering me, and that person doesn't stand up for you? How does that carry up in adult life when now you question yourself, will I be
Yeah.
heard?
Yeah.
Are they going to believe me? So this is how I navigated, because I was always majority to myself. um I had my circle. I
Yeah.
didn't trust people. If somebody offered me something, it always felt like you're gonna want something in return, because
Mhm.
my cousin would give me stuff, and it was like you're gonna want something if I take that from you.
Mhm.
So we that's how we navigate, because we don't know how we're moving around in life, because we've been so traumatized where we're not trusting people. We don't
Yeah.
know how to express our emotions. We
Yeah.
don't know how to communicate clearly.
Yeah.
So it's just so many, levels to it, where it's like we start sabotaging. If we're in relationships and somebody's treating us very good, oh no, why you
Yeah.
no, something wrong with you? Why you
Something wrong.
treating me
Yeah.
good?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're not used to that. And also what we see in our homes, our upbringings of, if you come from a two-parent home, is the parents talking to each other? Or do we have dinner where we're not talking to each other and we're watching TV? Nowadays we're on our phones. So what does that
Yeah.
look like? Or if you're in a single family home, is the mom or the dad or whoever you live with, are they working all day and you're in the home by yourself? So we're trying to figure out how to navigate, but we don't always have the tools in the experiences and the examples of trying, knowing the proper way to navigate.
Yeah.
So we're out here with blinders on trying to feel, and we're stuck at whatever age of, okay, mom been working all day. She working 3 jobs just to support me. She's
Mhm.
never home.
Yeah. 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 And we raising ourselves.
Yep.
We raising ourselves. One thing you mentioned is, again, not having the ability to properly manage our emotions, you know. And I think we can all say we have seen that in live action when you think about Will and the whole Chris incidents. That is a perfect example of not having the ability to manage your emotions and having something to trigger you, and to set you off, right? And I'm curious to know, as you was going through this, like, what was the point where you said enough is enough?
The point for me was I was very, very angry.
Mhm.
And I was scaring myself. I was so angry.
Yeah.
Where I was, at one point I talk about in the book, I was sexually assaulted in 2017. I mean 2007. And I was so upset about something. And the therapist had called me some days earlier about doing therapy, and I was like, "No, I'm fine, I'm fine." I'm taking pain meds and muscle relaxers to sleep. I
Mhm.
can't wake up because I'm under the influence of heavy sedation.
Yeah.
And I was so upset about something. I punched a hole in the wall and I was like, "You need therapy."
Mhm.
Just jobs I had, I was always angry. I wasn't, in a good place. I'm getting into it with my supervisor. I want to throw her out the window.
Mhm.
It was just like I was going from 0 to 100. And
Yeah.
I was scaring myself, like my heart is going boom, 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 boom.
Mhm, mhm.
And I'm just like, I don't like this anymore. I don't like feeling like this. I
Yeah.
don't want to be like this anymore. Um, I didn't talk about it. I don't think I talked about it in the book. I started slowing down a little bit. My sister and I got into a fight once,
Uh-huh.
and my niece and nephew, they were about maybe 2 or 3 at the time, and my sister got into a fight, and I had scissors in my hand, and I was just like, because I was so angry, and it was also a part of that jealousy because I knew her relationship with my mom was closer, and
Yeah.
I felt like my mom loved her more, and I
Yeah.
was just angry because I was like, "You have somebody. I have mom, but I don't have mom the way I had my dad. My dad
Yeah.
had me. It's a
Yeah.
different relationship.
Yeah.
And I saw my niece and nephew cry, and they were
Mhm.
scared, and they were scared of me, and I was like,
Mhm.
I don't ever, want them to be scared of me.
Yeah.
So I started changing a little bit where I would walk away and I wouldn't be quick to fight because I was a fighter. Like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
did you say? And I grew up in the suburbs. So the crazy part is I'm not from the hood. I'm from the suburbs too.
Yeah.
So I was a fighter because I always felt like I got to protect me. Nobody's going to protect me but me.
Mm.
And my friend invited me to go to Bali in 2019. I didn't have the money. Like I said, I did not have a good relationship with money at all. I was suicidal twice. Um, about money.
Mhm.
The first time I let go of the steering wheel, and we all know when you drive in a car, your car don't go straight. It's
Yeah.
kind of moving, and I knew it was God because the car was going straight. Literally, Yolanda Adams came on,
Yeah.
and
You
I
mentioned that in the book.
yeah, I started crying, and I was like, God, I don't know what you want me to do. I
Mhm.
don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I was just, I was scared, I was
Yeah.
angry, and I didn't know, and I didn't have, I didn't I still don't. We're getting better. Like I don't have that close-knit relationship with my family. My friends are more like my family and
Mhm.
my support
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
My sister and I were cool, and she's always been there, but it's not that what you see on the Cosby show
Yeah.
type situation.
Yeah.
But that's when and Bali literally saved my life because I honestly I didn't have the money. I figured out to get the money. I made the payments from April to September. It was like 500 something a month. And I figured out, I'm telling you that was God because honestly
Mhm.
didn't have the money.
Yeah.
Um, and it saved my life because after that, I started listening to positive stuff. I'm not a journal person. I wasn't. I started journaling. I started listening to
Yeah.
something. I
Yeah.
started writing a book and I was just like, I have to change because I'm sabotaging, I'm killing myself, I'm destroying myself. I was sick
Mhm.
all the time. I didn't want to be sick anymore. I would start jobs and literally the first week, because I hated the jobs, literally in the first week, I was sick. I was sick like every other week.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I something had to change. So after that, I'm healthier.
Yeah.
I'm not getting sick every other week. Like my immune system is so much better. And most of that was still that trauma in my body.
Mhm. Yeah. It's amazing on a couple levels of how our body operates, and as far as like our body, what it goes through when we go through a trauma, like this whole fight or flight, you know, of process, almost as if, I heard, even if you are like anticipating, like if you're going to be hit or in a wreck, it's better to be loose than to be tight, because your body can lock up, And I think that's kind of the same thing where of course we don't anticipate these traumatic experiences. but our body reacts internally when they occur, and as you mentioned, and I'm curious, while I can understand, I want to kind of hear more and expound on, as you mentioned, your money, because sometimes I'm not sure if I ever heard those two things together, as far as these traumatic experiences and the self-sabotage process that you go through and how it impacts the external things, like money. Like what, I guess, could you expound on that? Like what specifically around money was the issue that you realized was caused by this?
So my cousin used to give me money. And of course, when you're a kid, you get money, you're spending money.
Yeah.
And it's that relation, it wasn't a relationship, and it's more of, okay, I was getting money to be quiet.
Mm.
So it was, I didn't have a real relationship with money because I was introduced to money in a negative way.
Ooh. Ooh.
So
Ooh.
when you're introduced to something in a negative way, you don't really build a positive relationship with it. And also,
Mhm.
growing up, you're hearing in the South, you robbing Peter to pay Paul, you
Yeah.
just working to pay bills, things like that. So you hear those things, and that's how I felt. I'm working, killing myself, working several jobs. At
Yeah.
some point, I had like 10 jobs. I had just started personal training. I was working in a group home. I was
Wow.
a displayer for the person that gives the demos and the samples at Sam's Club. I'm personal training for myself and some other companies,
Yeah.
and I'm doing all of this, and I'm getting sick, and I'm still like, I'm making all this money. Where is it going? I don't have money. I'm paying bills. What am I doing? And I'm just like, what is going on? And I
Yeah.
got so
Yeah.
sick. My stomach was hurting. I was so stressed out. I was just not in a good place. Um, I was going to the doctor every other day. They're testing me, trying to figure out what's going on with my stomach, but nothing ever comes up as,
Yeah.
oh, it's stress related. It's, they're doing all this tests, MRIs, CTs, blood work,
Mhm.
urine, stool samples, all this stuff. And I just did not have a good relationship with money. I've been evicted, almost evicted, car repossessed, and I was not in a good headspace. And it literally took me recently, I was listening to something, Tasha Chan, and she was saying you have to have a relationship with money. You
Mhm.
have to figure out where your disconnect with money started. And I'm like, oh, the disconnect came when he used to give me money and used to give me stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so, we never look at money and materialistic things as a relationship. It is a relationship that
Yeah.
you're building with it.
Mhm.
So I had to learn that, and I'm still learning that. And, having that conversation with money of, okay, I appreciate you. I appreciate you being in my bank account.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
paying
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
bills and
Yeah.
being able to get the things I want and I need.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from.
Yeah. It's happy family. Again, you listen to Happy of the podcast. Finish what you start. We have LaJune Singleton here on the podcast, and I mean, what you just said as far as the how you was introduced to money, and I mean, you can replace money to with anything, you know, of introduced to something and being exposed to something and not realizing it wasn't the thing, but it was the individual behind it, you know. And and we sometimes put those things together, that again, replace money with anything. This thing doesn't like me, or we
Right.
just don't get along.
Right.
You know, it's not that. It's the other thing behind it. It's the root. Like, where did it come? What was your first? And I love that question. What was your first disconnect
Hmm.
with this? You know, Because that's so powerful. I'm curious to know this, and I'll provide some context to this, right? Um, as a PK kid, I grew up in a religious home, and it wasn't until I got older, and really understood my relationship with God, I was able to see things in a much clearer perspective. A had more clarity around it. And one thing that, and again, it's not my mom and daddy fault, just like the culture that we live in the church, where you had to come to God in a very presentable way.
Yes.
You know, you had to come to God, suit up, button up, and everything like that. And it wasn't until I got older and I had formed my relationship with God that I realized, oh, God, I can give you some of this bad stuff too.
Hmm.
Like, I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling mad. I'm about to cuss these people out. You know what I'm saying? These things there that I realize, oh, I can come as myself. And I'm curious to know, like, as you have went through this, like, what was your relationship, like your faith or your spirituality? Like, did you have anything that to hold on to, or was it times where you like, God, where are you?
It was all of the above. My dad, took us to church
Yeah.
every Sunday. My mom made sure after he died, we went to church. I was in a choir.
Hmm.
We spent all day Saturday at choir rehearsal. It was in the country.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it was many times I asked God, why did you take my dad? Why are you allowing this to happen to me?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, um, question after question, but I still had my faith in God. I still
Yeah.
believed in God. I
Yeah.
still, knew that God was the creator of all things.
Mhm.
I remember at the age of 8, my cousin got baptized. The church I grew up in, it was a family church. So
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
cousin went up and got said she wanted to join the church or whatever.
Mhm.
And they wouldn't baptize her until I went up. So it was time after time after time. And my mom was like, just go on up there because they waiting on you or whatever. And she told me to say something, and
Yeah.
I didn't. It was literally God that spoke through me. And they asked why I wanted to join church, and I said I want God to control my life and be my protector.
Mhm.
And it was just like, "Oh, okay." But I knew, God always protected me through situations,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was always that question of, "Where are you? What
Yeah.
are you doing? What's
Yeah.
going on?"
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, I understand how God works
Yeah.
because, you're taught so much in church, and sometimes
Uh-huh.
it ain't the right things that you taught,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah. Come on. For
you
real. For
you
real.
it's the truth. So you
Yeah.
have to do your own investigation. You have to read things like that because people just pick and choose things out the
Exactly.
Bible, but
Exactly.
it's not really, when it comes to I hear people say, well, if God is willing, well, what are you doing to help towards the process of
Let's go.
getting to where you
Yes.
need to be with God because you just sitting there waiting on God? No, faith with the works, not
You
faith
know?
without works.
Yeah. It's dead.
Yeah,
And that's thing right there. Oh man, you done hit one of them buttons. You know what I'm saying? Because that thing right there used to get me like, well, God willing, I'll be here next week.
ex-
God willing, I'll be able to pay my bills. No, how about you do a budget?
exactly.
You know?
How about you do something? If
Yeah,
God willing, God gonna bless me with that person. What are you doing to look for that person? Because
yes,
it's great if somebody knock on your door and it's your dream love, but really you have to put the work in.
yeah,
And that's what I didn't understand younger. I'm thinking, growing up, hearing that from the South, if
Yeah.
God willing, if the Lord gonna do it, if it's meant to be done or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
what's your belief process? What is your
Yeah.
faith behind it? So
Yeah.
that's something that I had to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. It's when I think about it now, um, in the period that we were in, I'm in my I'm in my 40s. I turned 40 last year, right? And I love my mom and dad. I thank God that they're still in my life and everything like that. And I look back over those years because I would say a lot of things that has experienced me, like the trauma that I didn't realize was trauma, was sometimes around the church.
Hmm.
And I took it as that was God, and it was moments where like I was like, man, I don't even know about this no more, you know. And it wasn't until I had to understand, like, no, there was just a misrepresentation of it, And I think, especially past generations, and I know at times I think, generation have been called like the silent generation, where you didn't say anything,
Hmm.
you didn't talk, and I think it's so wonderful now that we actually are in a healing season, a healing process because of all these years. When I think about uh like Denzel Washington in Fences, like I can honestly say in my perspective, like I felt like that at times was like my great granddaddy, you know, like I the stories I heard about him, I was like, yeah, and those things kind of passed down generation to
Generation to generation.
generation. And you wonder why we get to a point where we're a ticking time bomb, you know, we're a ticking time bomb. And I would love to know if someone is experiencing, if someone is trying to figure out, trying to move from, I'm gonna say acceptance to healing, because I think acceptance is a big part of healing. When we can acknowledge that I'm hurt, I'm broken. It takes us from this denial to, let's get to this healing process. You know, let's understand. Yeah, I can't fake it anymore. I'm tired of faking it. you know, I'm tired of faking. I'm tired of putting on this smile. No, I'm hurt. Like, what is some steps that you would say based on your experience as well as your expertise to help people to understand or to go take that first step towards their healing?
I think the first step is acknowledgement, acknowledging that something's not right, acknowledging because sometimes we experience trauma and we just put it in the back of our minds, but
Mm,
it seeps up.
yeah,
And we try to forget it or whatever, and we think that, oh, I'm over it. It happened a long time ago.
yeah,
But when that acknowledgement comes, okay, I was around some negative stuff,
yeah,
either if it's sexual assault, if it's grief, if it's
mm,
not being heard, if it's, something that you saw, domestic violence or
yeah,
violence in the community or whatever the case is, acknowledgement. How did that affect you? What did that look like for you?
yeah,
Um, if you're walking by something and it just, triggers you and you're jumping,
hmm,
acknowledge what that is.
yeah,
So that's the first step is acknowledgement. Finding somebody to talk to.
yeah,
If it
yeah,
is, if it's I would say it has to be a real good support system, somebody that
mhm,
listens, not somebody that's going to judge you, because we all have those friends that we can't go talk to about
yeah.
certain things because
Oh yeah,
they be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, girl, what's wrong with you? Oh, oh, dude, what's wrong with you, man? What?" You
Mhm,
know,
mhm.
find somebody you can talk to.
Yeah,
Find resources and services, therapy, coach, a group. your pastor, whatever makes you comfortable. And sometimes people are more comfortable talking to strangers. So if
Yeah.
that's what works for you, do that.
Mhm.
Um, find positive things to listen to. If that's a podcast, if that's, some inspirational stuff on YouTube, whatever works for you to
Yeah.
kind of get you to that point of, I think I'm ready. I think I'm really ready to get help.
Yeah.
So those are the things, but awareness and acknowledgement is the first thing because that takes you so far when you start becoming aware of what's going on.
Yeah. That's, I mean, so critical. I think one of the biggest things that you said that I had to realize this, that I had to come to awareness is like what you putting in your mind. To your point, like that positivity, like we can't overstate that. And at times that it may sound cliche, positivity, go get some positive energy, but it is truly, truly uh breakthrough. It
Yeah.
truly can be a breakthrough because you wonder why you having all these thoughts, and look at the music that you listen to, you
Also
know
dreams, if you
yes.
watch something like a scary movie or you're watching the ID channel or something before bed and you wondering why it feels like somebody's coming to kill you, you just watch something negative.
Exactly. Exactly. And especially now being that we're in this informational age, it is so critical to make sure you guard what you're putting in your body mentally, physically, emotionally, you know, because all those things, to your point, will come out. It will come out in a way. LaJune, let's talk about, because again, as I have read, you are a certified health and wellness coach, a mindset strategist. Like talk to us about the things you're doing. Like you've been doing this for 10 years. Especially, I guess let's start with your you have a website, and family, go to the website. It's LaJuneSingleton.com, where she has a host of information from services to girls sport coaching. Of course, you can see the book there and just again learn more and more about Lejeune. So tell us about, like, what do you do outside of writing books?
So outside of writing and coaching and personal training, I enjoy watching, movies and just having some stillness. That's
Mhm.
something I used to have stillness, but I think I understand stillness a lot better
Woo.
now. Because when you think of stillness, you think, oh, I'm watching TV, oh, I'm watching a movie, oh, I'm doing this, oh, I'm sleeping. I really understand stillness now because I'm able to process my thoughts better and hear God and hear universe and just have a better understanding. So I'm I took, I want to say February 7th, I took 14, was it 14 days? I took 10 days and I told people, do not contact me. I am having time for myself. I had a sabbatical.
Mhm.
And with that, I listened to nothing but positive things. I did journaling, I did praying, I rest. I just had time for myself to be in tune to myself because I needed clarity. And when you
Mm.
feel like you need clarity, take that moment to have sabbaticals. I needed clarity. I needed rejuvenation. I needed to know what my next
Yeah.
steps was. And I'll do that. And people, they would still text me. And they're like, "I know you're on a sabbatical, but I just miss texting you." And it was like, "Okay, I get it."
Oh,
Um,
this is like, oh, this is straight. Oh, this is straight lovely to hear because number one thing that I learned through the pandemic and still learning is stillness. And one thing, like the yoga practice of the corpse pose, or it's another yoga terminology for it. But that moment of you resting, and allowing your mind to process its thoughts, you know, allowing your mind to allow whatever thoughts and just run or do whatever. And the one thing that I realize is that, and it's kind of tied to boundaries, you have to, me personally, I have to set my boundary to make sure I have moments of stillness.
Mhm.
Moments of stillness, because it is such, because what you said, and family, you know me, because my I have said this on numerous occasions this year. My word is clarity. My word of the year is clarity, and that word has, I have been just, what's the word I'm looking for? It has really broadened my perspective around clarity, stillness, trusting. You know, the verse that my foundation verse is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord all your heart, lean not on your
Yes,
own
yes,
understanding,
yes.
right? And that prod, the part of clarity that I needed was trusting God, and not leaning on my own understanding, my emotions, my
Mhm.
experiences, my feelings, what I know, and that has taken me and really elevated my faith. But it wasn't until I had moments of stillness to understand I need some clarity.
Mm,
I need I I need some clarity because my mind is just racing, and I'm not having a moment to calm down.
mhm.
Allow yourself to be, allow with everything to be processed. The good, the bad, and it is truly, happy family, a wonderful way to manage your emotions as well.
Oh yeah.
It is a wonderful way to manage emotions. So I, again, the tips, as you said, set your boundaries. Whether that's go do a sabbatical or go, a moment of, hey, I'm not touching my phone or fasting, because it's truly like we need that moment of rejuvenating,
Mhm.
to be refreshed. I mean, I think that's one thing. And again, not to be on my soapbox, because again, I just, because what you said just again, I've been preaching that to myself, and really has been a testimony for me, to really make sure I take moments of stillness, take moments to really have a time to rest, you know, and really to recharge the battery. One thing before the pandemic, it was a go, 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 go lifestyle. And I have starting to see, oh, I'm leaning back towards that. Let me cut some things off. Let me understand what I need to do. So, oh, sister, we on the same wavelength. We are on the same wavelength for real. We are definitely on that. Um, so what's next? What anything you got cooking up?
So I'm in Atlanta this week on the 9th for a book signing. In June, I'll be in Houston for a book signing. I'm looking at areas within the DC, Maryland, Virginia area for book signings. Coaching softball in the spring. Well, it is spring, but it's still cold here.
Yeah.
Coaching softball, kids from the ages of 6 and up. Um, More into coaching, just, basically promoting a book
Mhm,
because definitely, I do interviews with people and also
mhm,
have people on my podcast and just hearing how it impacts them. I did an event on Saturday for Sexual Assault Awareness Month,
mhm,
and I'm going to do a panel soon. It's going to be me, two other ladies, and a gentleman. So we can hear from a male perspective
yeah,
of
yeah,
how he felt. He couldn't make it for the event. His flight was delayed.
mhm,
So that's what I have coming up so far. And just, continue to educate, advocate, and pour into people who, definitely have that, that's not there yet, but letting
yeah,
them know your
yeah,
voice matters and it's okay.
yeah, yeah. And to your point, like, what would you say to that person? that who knows that may be listening to this and may not be understanding the self-sabotaging ways that they have been doing to themselves? Like, what would you tell them?
The first thing is if you realize that nothing is working in your life, that excuse me, that everything just seems to be going wrong, and you got a bad attitude and a negative attitude, uh, you are sabotaging. That is the
Mhm.
steps of self-sabotaging. You got an attitude, you're angry all the time, you're
Yeah.
stressed out, you're weird, you're frustrated, you're annoyed, your anxiety is high. And
Mhm.
a lot of people don't understand anxiety stems from trauma and past
Mhm.
triggers that
Mhm.
put you in that situation.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say be aware of that. Look at,
Wow.
why am I getting so angry? Why am I getting frustrated? Why? What happened? What's going on? So I would definitely say connect with yourself, and see
Yeah.
what's going on, because like you said earlier, we try to busy ourselves so much so we don't have to internally deal with things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Internally deal with it, because that means you haven't healed. And when you internally deal with it, you're able to heal and move forward. And things start to, I mean, my life changed tremendously. A
Mhm.
lot of people said to me, um, I quit my job in 2020. I got COVID from my job. I quit my
Mhm.
job. I started my podcast. I started working full time as a health coach and
Mhm.
personal trainer. Um, and just things started skyrocketing. My book came out last year,
Mhm.
and things just started changing. When your
Yeah.
life changed and you trust God,
Come
oh
on now.
my God, the sky is the limit. It's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
Jesus, dang, why you ain't tell me this a long time ago?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm telling you, your life would change tremendously. You got to make the steps of healing, forgiving. You got to forgive yourself first, because you
Say
can't
that again.
forgive
Yeah.
anybody else until you forgive yourself. It
Yourself.
starts with you. It starts with you, like you said, it finishes with you. So it all starts and begin and ends with you, and trusting God, letting God, trust him.
Mhm.
But you got to do the work. You can't just sit back and be like, all right, God, what you gonna do?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got to do
You
the
you
work.
gotta do the work.
You
Come
got to do
on
the
now.
work.
Come
You got
on.
to do
Come
the work.
don't be like, mother mother hope and mother please God, and
Yeah, sitting
no
by the
one
window,
winning.
like when you come in Jesus. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you got to
Do
do
the
the work.
work.
Yeah,
Do
you
the
got to do
work.
the work. You got to do the work.
You kind of had touched on this as we kind of wrap up with our question as far as tips and like the question I want to ask you is like how would you or what does it mean to you to finish what you start? And maybe one or two words that come to your mind when you think about finish what you start, or what does it mean to you to finish what you start?
So I would say finish what you start. One thing I would say, be patient with yourself.
Mm,
Pace yourself, because the thing that we do is, I think we've gotten so caught up with, it has to be now, now, now. It
yeah.
doesn't have to be now. It takes time. So it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It takes time. It takes days. It takes months. Sometimes it takes years. It's, in your
Mhm,
own timing. So be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace. Give yourself mercy.
mhm.
Um, and don't give up on yourself.
Yeah.
So, what, once you start, just know, okay, it takes work.
Mhm.
Nothing is easy, because my business is not easy.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
days where, I went from so many clients, and now I'm down to 3 clients. But I also look at it as, okay, God, this is also the time that I can promote my book more. This
Mhm.
is the time that I can travel more. This is
Yeah.
the time that, I can work on other things with other people.
Yeah.
You can't do that when you're steadily busy, busy, busy,
Mhm.
because you start to burn yourself out. And
Yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah.
So, just look at some things and just be like, all right, I see what you're doing. I see what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So sometimes you may pivot in a different direction, and it's okay, and don't feel bad about it.
Yeah. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel bad. LaJune, you got any social media handles that you want to say or provide?
So LinkedIn and Facebook, LaJune Singleton.
Okay.
Instagram is I am LaJune Singleton. I'm on YouTube. LaJune Singleton is my YouTube page.
Cool, cool.
And my website again is LaJuneSingleton.com.
Cool, cool. And we'll have all those links in our YouTube page, family. LaJune, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Again, family, go get the book. You can go on Amazon, Barnes and Noble to get this book. It is definitely powerful. And I would say, hey, give it to someone. You know, if you once you read it, also buy it for someone else. You know, and help them to release their trauma. Help them to release their trauma. Happy family. Hey, do me a favor. Be strong and know that you were created for greatness. No matter what life may bring you, always love God, love self, and love your neighbor. I'm your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray. Again, I want to thank LaJune Singleton for joining us here in the neighborhood. And to
Thank
next time,
you.
family, be blessed.